Hey everyone, it's Lisa. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful and fabulous Saturday. So, I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about one of the ways to create more inner peace and a still mind. So, before I get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lisa, and I'm a spiritual life coach. I help people to create lives filled with more inner peace, love, and joy. So let's get started and talk a little bit about how to create a life filled with inner peace and to create a still mind. So, one of the ways to do this is to release identification with your thoughts. So, what does that mean? So, first, to give you a little bit of context, we continually have a narrative of thoughts going on in our mind, whether or not we're aware of them. And it can seem a little weird or off if that's a new idea to you, if you're new in the consciousness and personal growth field or path, I should say. So we have all these thoughts all the time going on that are continually narrating what we're doing, or they're thinking about the past, or they're imagining the future. And so there's different levels of consciousness and awareness of these thoughts. And one of the deep levels of unconsciousness, which is where everybody starts. Until we learn to be conscious, most of us are unconscious. That's just kind of, how it goes. It's consciousness is something that you have to be intentional about, which doesn't just fall in your lap. So it's okay if you're at an unconscious level with your thoughts and your experience. So one of the deepest levels of unconsciousness before consciousness happens is when we just are our thoughts. Like we don't have any awareness that we even really have these thoughts. It's just kind of our normal experience. But when you become aware of it, when you become more conscious, then you recognize that you're actually the witness behind the thoughts. You're the observer of the thoughts. You're not the thoughts, which is a really liberating experience. So when you are the thoughts, it's like you'll have this thought of like, oh, I need to do this, and you just do it. There's no questioning. There's no like, well, do I need to do that? Is that true? Where is this belief coming from? There's no questioning of it. And so from that level of lack of awareness that you can be the observer of your thoughts. From that place, your life is lived very it's not lived with intention, and so we can't really create our lives as much. And so when we become aware of our thoughts, and when we become aware that we are the witnesser of the thoughts, then we really have power to create what we want in our lives. So one of the ways, and I just want to explain this a little bit more. So one of the ways you can think about it too is it's like when we're identified with our thoughts, they can feel really strongly like we just have to listen to them, we have to give in to them. It's like the difference between like say you're sitting at a lake cabin, it's nice and peaceful and the birds are chirping and you hear the waves splashing against the rocks. Like get that image in your head. And then a semi-truck comes barreling down and is like honking its horn. It's like, rah! Like it's kind of hard for your consciousness not to get just like pulled by that semi-truck, right? And so when we're identified with that thought, that's what it's like when these thoughts come up. We're just pulled to whatever it is that thought is saying, like do this, go here, blah, 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 run these errands, be productive, da da da. And so our life is just pulled by whatever thoughts we have when we're identified with our thoughts, when we are the thoughts instead of the witness behind the thoughts. So compare the semi truck to like maybe you're sitting at this same lake cabin where it's nice and quiet and peaceful and there are birds chirping. And then maybe in the background somewhere you hear like a soft chime of an ice cream truck, if that gives you good feelings, And it's like maybe you'll listen to it, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll just continue reading your book. And it's like it just floats on by, just passes by. Hi, Alyssa. Thanks so much for joining me. And for those of you others who are joining me, please say hi so I know who's here with me. I'd love to see who's here. So that's kind of one way to think about it, like if you identify with your thoughts or if you're not. So, one way that you can learn to become less identified with your thoughts is through a practice that you can either use in conjunction with a current meditation practice you have, or you can use it as a meditation in and of itself, or you can also integrate it into your daily life. Hi, Michelle. Oh my gosh, it's so good to have you. I hope you're doing well. It's been so long since we've talked. So what the practice is when you notice a thought, imagine that it's just floating by on a river. Or imagine you put that thought onto like a lily pad that's loose and it floats down the river. Or you can imagine that you take your thought and you put it onto a cloud and then it passes by. So it's kind of like we don't have to choose to get caught up in that thought process about it. So like maybe we'll have a thought come up about like, oh, I have all these things to do. And then we can choose to put that onto the cloud and let it float away. Or we can choose to like, oh yeah, I do have all these things to do. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I don't have very much time. And God, how am I going to do all this? Like, I'm so stressed out. I don't know how to manage, And so the former is where we're choosing to not be identified with our thoughts. And then the latter, where we get caught up in that pattern of thinking about it, that's when we're identified with our thoughts. And there's an absence of redirecting the mind. So that's really all it is. It's about choosing to redirect the mind. And again, like, it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. Everyone is where they are. You are where you are in your level of consciousness and your own growth. And it's like we as beings, we all start from an unconscious place. We don't have these tools and strategies, and that's okay. It's just our normal evolution. So be good with where you're at, and send yourself love. So, you can use it as an entire meditation. Like you can say set your alarm for however long you're comfortable with, 5 or 10 minutes, or whatever you usually do, and then start with getting to a relaxed place. Like take some breaths in your nose and out your mouth, some deep belly breaths. Maybe tune into the sensations in your nose, like how the breath is cold when it comes in your nose and then it's warm when it comes out. And then just like, relax your body. And then you could just sit for like, say, 5 minutes. And when you notice a thought, set it onto the clouds or set it onto the river. And if you're new to meditation, I wouldn't do this for very long or do it primarily. I would say to use it in conjunction with whatever other meditation practice you have, because it can be sometimes overstimulating to think about all those thoughts. So it's helpful to also have another meditation that you do where you're having an anchor, which redirect the mind from thoughts to the anchor. When I say anchor, I touch my nose because I'm thinking about the breath. You can use your breath as an anchor. So that's what I have for you. So to release identification with your thoughts is how you can create a more peaceful life. And the difference in your life experience is totally transformational. When we're identified with our thoughts, we go through our days without intention, and we're just like pulled by this fear of like, I have to produce, I have to get things done, I'm overwhelmed, and when some problem comes up, it's like we just get stuck in that, that cycle of ruminating about it, like rumination. When we're identified with our thoughts, we ruminate a lot, because we don't redirect, and that's what, releasing identification with the thoughts is you essentially refocus your attention. So it's like the difference between living in a continual state of anxiety and being able to live in inner peace and be like chill and indifferent. Like, oh yeah, that's a thought. I would like to do that, and it will happen in the perfect time and space. and I'm okay with whenever it happens. Like it's just totally different. So I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions about it, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below or send me a private message. It was lovely being with you ladies. Alyssa, Michelle, thanks so much for joining, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful, and fulfilling and peaceful weekend. Take care. Bye.